Okay, so yeah, if you're listening to this, you like Malazan, you've read it before. If you haven't, go away. Yeah, so let's start.
Yeah, welcome to the party zone, everybody. This is where all the fun stuff happens. We got to mock our fellow panelists. We got to talk about all the books. Um, I don't know what else.
Let's talk about our last four recordings. Anything stood out to you based on like what Yasna or Panda said?
Anything that stood out to me? Oh yeah. Based on which characters they think are going to come back, they're going to be disappointed. Basically, all the characters in Memories of Ice are like they're essentially done for the series, beside Toll the Hounds and like a couple characters that show up besides Toll the Hounds. But yeah, like Krupp, he's basically gone. He's gonna show
Yeah.
up in like two chapters outside Toll the Hounds. Rake, same thing basically.
When does he show up?
He like shows up to one with Piran, I think, and then
Oh,
one time he gives that all guy a bow and some arrows to kill Olar Ethel with, I think.
oh, okay. I don't
I, I
remember that.
I could be wrong about that, but
Well,
he does show
located
up at least one more time with I think Piran at least.
located Krupp's book.
Yes. So yes, I assume it's going to be very sad to learn that it's going to be a long time till he gets to see him again. Um, and yeah, the bridge burners are basically done. Of course, most of them are dead. Whiskey Jack will show up a little bit later. I'm interested to see how they react to that. Hedge
Well,
comes back to life.
they really all show up. It's just the only character is Whiskey Jack. Does that make sense?
Yeah. The only character is Whiskey Jack and Hedge.
Yeah.
And Hedge is different because he comes back to life.
Yeah, I still don't quite understand how that happens.
I don't either.
I'm gonna read closer next time we. So he goes to the refugium, right, in Reaper's Gale.
Yeah, is the Refugium the Mibes dream world, or is it something different?
Uh,
This is what
I
kept
don't
me
know.
awake last night. I was just wondering, because like the Mibes dream world, it shows up again, right?
Hmm.
And
And
it
they did say that the refugium was like inside the Omtos Phalak, right, in a place that they couldn't find.
ah
Or maybe I had no idea. I don't
weird.
remember.
Well, okay, isn't Curled Ghislaine like the prime world in this universe?
Why would
Because
you say that?
Burn is in Curled Ghislaine, according to Karkanis at least.
Mm, yeah, I guess you could look at it like that.
Hmm.
But okay, so like these warrens exist on top of one another, right? Sort of like extra dimensions
Yes.
onto, I guess, what you would call the real world.
And there were also some of them existed before the Warrens were made. Like Curled Ghislaine existed, but it wasn't a hold, but it became a Warren as well.
Hmm. I got no idea.
And I have no idea how like Omtos Falak works with this at all because was it just a hold that existed forever? Is it now a Warren? Because we know Hood is the master of the whole device. He's on the throne.
Hmm.
I don't know.
At least at least after he dies.
Yeah, it dies.
Yeah.
Do you think that they're gonna guess that Hood is a jacket ever?
I gave a couple of hints, but yeah, I don't think they ever will.
I was surprised, and yeah, Hood is
Well,
so cool,
there's
man.
a new video on YouTube about Hood, and it has the thumbnail is like Hood. And I was thinking, oh, I hope Panta and Yasna doesn't see this.
Mm. Um, I'm excited for the gods to take more of a central role in the series because up till now they've kind of just been working in the background and like every once in a while they interfere. But later on, we really get to see them start making plans or
They
have their
did quite
plans
a
come
bit
through.
in Memories of Ice. I mean, Cruel was there a lot, and so was
Cruel
Hood.
is probably the main one, yeah. And Hood does show up, but like
And
you
Shadow
don't
Throne and has been constantly in the background of.
we don't get to see how cool Shadow Throne is yet though, because
Yeah, but
I
the end of book 2, Shadow Throne was pretty cool.
yeah, I think he's probably the best schemer in the series
Probably, yeah.
because
I can see
like he's the guy that like even if he loses, he wins.
that. Xanatos Gambit.
Yeah. And he also is the reason the Malazan Empire even exists and is so successful. So
Yeah, speaking of Hood being a Jaghut, did you notice when Gethel was what Gethel said when he was cast out by Hood?
I noticed something that was off. Yeah, I don't remember what it is right now, but I definitely was like, yes.
He said something about I know who you are, Hood, and you cast me out because I'm a mirror of you or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, like reading that again, it's like, how did I miss? How did I miss this?
Panda brought that up in I think episode 1 or 2, and like as soon as she brought up that like thing, I was like, oh my god, does she know? Wow. And then she just goes off and says something completely different. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Because yeah, like at least the conception I had of him before it was revealed as Jekka is probably he's just probably like one of the elder gods, sort of. He's like an eternal force. I wouldn't have thought he like someone would just be like, "Hey, I want to be the god of death one day." But that's sort of what happened.
I was expecting more hints to Treach's identity as the son of Onos and Kilava,
Hmm.
but it didn't. I couldn't find any.
Just weren't really any. Yeah. I don't. Man, I liked Kalava the first time I read the series. I don't really like her this time.
I don't either. I felt the same way too. Because when I was first like, oh, this is neat. She's going against the EMAS and she's trying to help the Jaghut and she's trying to get together back with her brother and she's just kind of being nice, but she's just so selfish and petty.
Yeah. Like, yeah, she kills her entire clan, which that's not a good look.
No.
And then she releases a couple of children into a life of eternal torture, and then she just leaves them there.
Oops. Didn't mean to do that.
300,000 years later.
And then she has the gall that to face that child again and say, I'm going to kill you because you killed my brother's best friend.
Yeah.
That I didn't even know. I mean, I get that like she's just trying to like latch onto any part of her past identity, especially trying to make up with her brother, but really?
She's got some balls.
She's also a home wrecker, so don't forget that.
Yeah.
See, that's why I can never like Onrak.
Onrak to me, he just feels like a less interesting tool. You know? Like the entire time I was reading Onrak the first time, I was like, just give me Tool back. He's just better.
He is better. But Tool is one of my favorite characters in the whole series, so it's hard to compare to him.
Tool is very, very cool. Is it? It's Dust of Dreams that he. Well, okay, he technically comes back in Reaper's Gale, but it's Dust of Dreams that he really makes a comeback.
Yeah, it was the end of Reaper's Gale when he sees like Talk die, like on the shores. That was terrible.
Yeah.
And then Dust of Dreams at the beginning, and he was just Barghast people, and all that stuff went down. Mm-hmm. Speaking of the Barghast, man, like Memories of Ice, I love the Barghast.
Right.
And then like later that takes a sharp turn.
Mm-hmm. I do sort of appreciate now that like even in this book there's like one tribe that stands out as being weird if you're paying attention, and that's the Gilk. It's like what's going on with them, and you know that's actually something.
Yeah.
And they're the one cool tribe in my opinion.
I forgot, what do the Gilk do?
They're the ones who are the ancestral enemies of the Forhrula Sail.
Oh.
So, and they're also the only Baris tribe that survived the series. Because, like, most of them get wiped out in Dust of Dreams.
by the EMAS led by Tool, right?
Yeah. They deserved it.
Uh, I want to say they deserved it, but
Okay, it's Malazan. Not no one. Yeah, like no.
yeah,
Yeah. But if anybody deserves it, it's the Barghost.
still awful. Off on a tangent, I just read that chapter of Forge of Darkness, and that was rough.
Oh yes, that one. Yeah, no, that one's.
Like 2 days ago, just sitting in my bathtub reading, crying.
It's very well written.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And oof, to put you in that perspective is
Mm-hmm.
ballsy.
I really like the follow-up scenes for that in Forge of Darkness as well.
When Rake meets up with Narad, and
Yeah.
he says they're gonna swear on her, right? Like she
Mhm.
and Anamander's group thinks that he's swearing on Mother Dark, but Narad thinks it's obvious that he's swearing on Anestia. I really like that scene. Is that scene you're talking about?
I'm talking about the scene where he gets his sword, and then he's talking. They're talking about what they should name the sword, and
Oh, Vengeance and Grief.
yeah, that sword's gonna show up pretty soon. I think it's
Yeah.
Forge of Darkness, right? Woo! Wonder
Uh,
what everyone's gonna think about Animander's first brother to show up.
does Grief and Vengeance show up in House of Chains?
I think so.
Yeah, because Andorist has it, right?
Yes, he has
Yeah.
it. Then he dies. Then Dassam comes along and takes it.
Man, I love Andorist. I think he's my favorite of the brothers.
Yeah, and he's he's the only one that like gets old. The only
Yeah.
one that doesn't become a dragon. So like it's nice to see that the Andy can get old.
He's very, very, very old.
Yeah, I don't understand. Okay, so I don't know if the Leosin get old, but the Eater at least have like roughly comparable lifespans to humans, and I have no clue why that is.
I think that's just an inconsistency. I think it was brought up with Erickson once, and I think he probably just gave like I don't remember
Oh,
answer.
okay.
We could ask him. We could ask him in Midnight Tides interview, but it might have something to do with the shattering of the Warren.
It could, yeah, and the death of Father Shadow.
So, what was the last flight of dragons in the Starvold Demoline? We get the first mentions of that.
Oh,
I imagine it has something to do with the Teist taking the blood of Tiem, right? And
maybe.
becoming soul taken.
I would think it'd be like that, or maybe like a chaining or something.
And is that? Do you think that might be the event that made Mother Dark turn on the Teist?
I think I think the Andy taking the blood of TM is probably what caused her to say, "Yeah, this is the step too far. I'm not going to associate with you guys anymore." Although, you know, as we know from Fall of Light, like their relationship was already on very rocky terms.
Well, yeah, she's just like, hey, don't fight each other. 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 And they keep fighting each other. And then they take the blood of TM. And then she's like, you know what? I'm done with you.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's what happens.
Do you think Calor had a Skykeep at one point?
I never thought of it. Maybe. Like, that would...
Because
yeah.
How else would he manage to destroy that continent? I cannot think of a single... Because he apparently did it alone, right? Unless he, you know, had a couple mages do it on his behalf and then he killed them.
I mentioned in the episode, I still... I'm on the fence. I don't know if he actually ever did this.
That's...
Like, I really do think he's just
yeah.
taking it... He might just be taking it on as the burden of the, you know, the ruler, right?
I am inclined to agree, I think.
And we know he's like filled with self-hatred, right? So I mean that could explain part of that, right?
Yes. And also, you know, as he's also the kind of guy who just wants to say screw you to basically everyone he meets, especially Elder Gods. Yeah.
I mean, I get why he's so popular. He's just such an ass.
I'm really curious as to what Panda and Yasna are going to think of him after 12 Hands.
Yeah.
It sort of changed my opinion of him. Like,
I still didn't like him, but I understood him better.
Yeah, because like he seems sort of cartoonishly evil in Memories of Ice in a lot of ways. But
that's just based on the perspectives we're given, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And until the Hound, we're actually given his perspective, which. But then, like, also in Tola Hounds, he's just like, yeah, I had lots of wives and I locked them in a tower, and I let them be. Just like, well, it's not making me like you anymore.
Um, yeah, and he didn't want to kill Whiskey Jack. He was really upset by that.
Mm.
Like, I guess everybody would be, right?
There's a lot of that. Uh, I didn't want to kill this person, but I did it anyway, and I feel bad.
Yeah.
I think we could just say that's Dancer's story.
Yeah.
Um, I'm wondering. So we keep getting mentions of Anomander's companions in the past, and how at first he was with Brood and the Queen of Dreams, or sorry, Triss, and later became the Queen of Dreams, and
Hmm.
then that fell apart, and then he started hanging out with Osric and Envy, and then that fell apart. I'm wondering if we're gonna know more about that in Walk in Shadow.
We might see like the start of something like that. I don't think we'll see much of it because
Mhm.
Envy is still a unless there's a time skip. Envy's still like a teenager in
Well,
that.
like it seems like they're kind of coming into their powers, right? So they could probably grow up.
They would have to do a lot of maturing. I don't think he would want to hang out with the masses.
Well, so I've been reading, like I said, I've been reading Forge of Darkness, and it said that Arathon started growing up after he had a near-death experience falling in icy water.
Oh yes.
And since then, he's outgrown his sisters. And then they kill Malice, and then they kill Malice again.
Poor
That was
Malice.
that was messed up. Yeah, Malice, I feel bad for her.
She's just like the younger sister that wants to be a part of things.
And then she gets stabbed to death and thrown
Hmm.
in ovens. As siblings do.
I think I think Envy and Spite are the only people that were made nicer with hundreds of thousands of years of time. Because like
Maybe they just got better at being sociopathic.
maybe, but like Envy seems to genuinely care for talk on some level.
I really like Envy of this book.
I do too. And then she shows up in Toll the Hounds, and her and Spite just go at each other.
Yeah, I
Hilarious.
wonder why.
Spite, I guess.
Maybe some envy.
Hmm.
So I was looking at my notes before the episode, and I was trying to piece together the history of the Eater and the Barghest/Imas. So this is what I think I understand so far. So the Imas, who later became the Barghest, they missed the ritual, and then they
Hmm.
come back to Genabacchus and begin their life anew, and they maybe intermix with the Thalakai. But when they're on the water too, they have a war with the Eater,
Hmm.
and they push the Eater into Lether.
Hmm.
But there are also some left over, and some of those early Barghest uh, allied themselves to them and became the Moranth.
I think that's correct. Yeah, and the Moranth settled in a place where it's a shattered fragment of curled Emerlon.
Hmm. I
And
want
then
to
they
know
got
more about that.
I yeah. I really like the Iter and I like the Moranth, as I mentioned before.
I hope the Moranth come up in Witness Trilogy.
Yeah, same. Because do we ever figure out the source of their civil war, like anything beyond the superficial details we're told in like a couple of the books?
Um, no, it comes up a little bit more in the Ice novels, but it's mostly just kind of alluded to, right?
Hmm.
We learn a lot about the Segula and Orb Scepter Throne,
Oh, cool.
but they're not. Orb Scepter Throne's the best one. Read it right after Toll the Hounds. Uh, so the deniers in Forge of Darkness become the Shake.
Yes.
Okay,
Who also probably become the Eater as well.
but I think that's different too. So Scarabandaris, becomes the father of the Eater,
Hmm.
and his followers start to get gray skin. Whereas the deniers and the people under Narad and those people following him, I don't think they ever actually
I
pick
think
a
they might
side.
do a little bit of uniting, like, because don't the Sheikh have a little bit of Eater blood at least?
Yeah, but I mean
Yeah.
that's over hundreds of thousands of years, right?
Hmm.
And most of the Sheikh are leftovers on Lether, I believe.
Yes.
And they also have lots of Andy blood too.
The Andy on Lether, that sort of disappointed me. Because you show up and they're already dead, and all you get is Clip,
Clip.
who is just the
I,
worst.
I hate Clip. It's just so annoying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's like, I think he's the most smug of all the characters in Malazan.
Mm.
And you can just like feel it every time he's on the page. Ugh. Gross.
So, Quick Ben, another, sorry, we're going back to Hood. Quick Ben noticed that Hood's path was the easiest to travel during the corruption of, all the Warrens.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's also a big hint that Hood might be Jack Hutt.
That would make sense. I hadn't thought about it that way, but yeah. My initial thinking was just that like death is so ever present and such like an eternal concept that it's pretty much it's a lot more difficult to corrupt because it's just such a pure thing.
Yeah, that works. I like that
And it
better.
also has like a lot of unwitting worshippers. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a combination of both, honestly.
Yeah. Trust said they saw a firestorm from afar in 7 cities once. I don't know. I wonder what caused that because, of course, not the bone hunters, the bridge burners were on 7 cities and they saw lots of stuff.
Yeah.
And then later in Bone Hunters, we see a giant firestorm at Yugatan. So I'm wondering if that's
Yes.
like
It wouldn't be the
foreshadowing.
Oh yeah, it could be foreshadowing, yeah. I mean Yugatan is like the worst place.
I can't wait to get to Bone Hunters.
Bone Hunters will be really interesting. Like the army or the book?
The book.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm wondering how Yasna and Panda will respond to the Bone Hunters, like the army.
I I wonder if they're going to be upset by the ending of House of Chains because it's such a blue balls moment.
Yeah, the more time I spend on it, the more I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, initially I was just like, oh, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Bone Hunters take a long time to get like an actual battle.
They got a lot of skirmishes with Liaman, right?
Yes, they get a lot of skirmishes with Leoman in House of Chains, and then in Bone Hunters they get Yugatan, where that's not really a battle.
Yeah.
And then Reaper's Gale, the Marines get battles. At the end of Reaper's Gale, like it's sort of a battle, but at that point the Lothari are pretty much defeated already. So like the first real conflict is in Dust of Dreams when they're fighting the Naruk.
I think the rest of the small conflicts count.
Yeah, but like this is their first like large scale thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because the bridge burners get a lot of those in Memories of Ice, at least.
Hmm. What was I
Oh,
gonna say?
Dujek is essentially dead after this book.
Yeah, that was also disappointing.
Yeah, he just kind of gets sick and dies a couple books later.
Was that Bone Hunters that happened?
I think so. And then Prawn's
Yeah.
just like, "This is my army now," and then he doesn't show up for a couple books.
It's not like he said, "This is my army." He goes there. It says, "Hey, I'm Captain Kindly," and somebody's like, "No, you're not." And he meets a Dujek. He's like, "Ah, you're the commander now." Okay.
Yeah.
Which is a good development, I think. I actually really like that part. I just wish Dujek didn't die so unceremoniously.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, looking back on this book at least, like this is the conflict that really just breaks him, and I'm mostly okay with that, I guess.
What is the significance of the Barghast swords?
Oh yeah, do they ever show up again?
I don't. If they do, it'll be in Reaper's Gale or Dust of Dreams, but I don't think they do. At least I don't remember.
It's not in a significant way at all. Maybe it's just a plot thread that Steve was going to do something with and then just decided not to for whatever reason.
I don't know. So Ikovian does a soul gaze with Corlat, and it doesn't go well. What do you think he
Uh,
saw?
I think he just saw that like the Heist Andy are just really sad.
But it seemed
Um,
like it was specific to her.
oh, maybe like Corlat has a pretty tragic life, right? Even just
Mm.
how she was born was awful.
Yeah, that was what was that? Was that All of Light?
I think so. It was
Yeah,
Draconis's Finnest.
yeah, yeah. That was uh.
I guess she's
Oh,
sort of like a half sister to Envy and Spite, which is something.
yeah, I guess so. That's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
See, I know we meet Sandalef, Drew Corlat, and Midnight Tides, right?
Yes.
And she gets with Withel, and we kind of learn about her and Corlat's uh, mutual distaste, and kind of following that theme of mothers abandoning their children, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you see why she doesn't really care much for Corlat, and how she pours all of her love into Orphan Tall. I'm just thinking, I get it.
Yeah.
I still think it's wrong,
Oh, absolutely.
but
Um,
hell, it's a bit traumatic.
and Orphantal will also die sort of unceremoniously in Toll
Yeah,
Hands to Calor.
Orphan Tall. I wish he was a. I really like the Orphan Tall stuff in the Carcanos books, but he's
Yes.
just kind of not that important in the Book of the Fallen.
I think this is just like a case of the character becoming more interesting once you take a closer look at him.
Mm.
Because I don't think, I really don't think Steve had planned out Orphantal's backstory to any large degree
Mm.
beforehand. Um, and yeah, it's just kind of like a Better Call Saul situation where it's just, the character is much better when you take a prequel look at them.
Well, I love his parts he's like 5 years old, right? 5 or 6,
Something like that.
and his friendship with Rennick and his relationship with his mother, and the whole thing just sad and tragic. And he's
Hmm.
a good kid.
I mean, Carcanos, the entire thing is just sad and tragic, really.
Yeah.
There's not a lot that's good that happens there.
Yeah, I think Carcanos is definitely darker than Deadhouse Gates.
Yeah, it's also a lot less like obvious humor,
Mm. It's
which
mostly a
is
lot of wordplay. Like most of the humor from the Carcanos books comes from Prazak and Dathanar.
yes, who are
I,
essentially Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
who?
From Hamlet, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern
Oh,
are two of Hamlet's friends, and then they also have the famous spin-off play Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
okay. I'll have to read Hamlet.
It's good. It's more importantly, watch Hamlet in a
Okay.
live in a theater because some good stuff right there.
Might be hard to find here.
I, it's hard to find here too.
I'd like to see Shakespeare translated in Japanese.
That would be Shakespeare with a Japanese twist on would be very interesting.
I feel like we talk about the Carcanos books a lot in these podcasts.
Hopefully, okay, we have at least one listener. I think that's Mathros, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So I think he appreciates it at least.
I know. Well, these episodes obviously get fewer listens, but yeah, we still get a couple hundred, maybe more.
Oh, hey, very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. It's
Yeah.
more than I expected. Um, Memories of Ice stuff. Um, the place Gruntle is in at the end of this book, and the place Gruntle is in at the start of, I think it's also Told Hands.
It just told
Right.
rounds, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I might
What do you
feel
mean?
better in a reread, but like when I initially had gone back to it, I wasn't really happy with it very much.
I don't know, it seemed to make sense to me. Can you tell me what you mean?
Because like, okay, he essentially reverts to how he was at the start of Memories of Ice
Mm.
in Toll the Hounds. He's just kind of like, oh, I'm just gonna worry about making money and try not to care much about people. And then Gruntle, in The Crippled God especially, has a super weird arc that I don't know what really happens there
I don't know. He
or
fights with
why.
Kalava and gets in a fight with Kalava and
Dies.
dies.
Yeah, and Trake dies too.
Yeah, and he's actually fighting against the Bone Hunters, I believe, in like their goals, right? Yeah, I'm gonna have to read that closer next time because I don't really quite understand where that thread was going either.
Yeah, like I don't know what Gruntle is supposed to like. I don't know the purpose behind his character really. I do in Memories of Ice. It's very clear in Memories of Ice.
I don't think it's fair to say that I don't think your characterization of him in Toll the Hounds is correct
Hmm.
because I think he's obviously deeply affected by Stoney, and Stoney keeps just going into a spiral, right?
This is true.
And he wants Stoney to be a mother and take care of Harlow, and he's taking care of Harlow, and he sees that it's just kind of pointless, that it's never going to work, so he kind of just runs away from it, right?
I that would make sense to me. Yeah. Harlow's storyline, by the way, best part of Toll Hounds.
I agree. Man, that final line where he's meeting up with Stoney, man, waterworks every time.
Yeah.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
man, and his friend Bainisk. God, that's so sad.
Yes. Banisk was like a slave all his life, right? And
Yeah,
Harlow was gonna lead him to Drujistan where everything was gonna be better.
yeah, he was always
And then
lying
as he
to him,
dies, yeah, as
telling
he
him good
dies, he
stories
tells
about.
him one last lie. Yeah. Swoop. um,
Harlow's the best
he,
character in the series, up there
man,
with Beak. He's just genuinely good.
Beak is gonna be. We're gonna have a talk about Beak when he comes up, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, God, Beak. It's like he, Beak's amazing, and anyone who says that Erickson can't write characters is first of all just wrong. And
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
but like, how can Erickson introduce characters in like 5 pages and you will never forget them? And it
mm-hmm.
happens all the time with these tiny, tiny, tiny characters that will always stick with you.
Mm-hmm. And Beak is like a super, super interesting character in his own right because like he doesn't really fit into any really fantasy archetype that I can think of. Um, he's deeply neurodivergent
That's yep.
and he's a very quiet guy, so you don't notice him at all until he's right on the page. And he's also one of the most powerful mages in the series, which is yeah, it's really interesting. And he has an excellent arc in what is like 3 chapters. Whew. Yep.
Oh, I can't
My
wait.
my biggest gripe with Beak's storyline is that they didn't keep the white hair. They
Yeah,
should have
yeah,
kept the
me
white
too.
hair.
I was hoping for that too. That was so cool. I wish that Erickson introduced Beak a little sooner because I
And
believe
like,
he's not
yeah,
mentioned until Reaper's Gale.
I
So I
believe
wish
so.
like
Yeah.
maybe Bone Hunters or something.
Hmm.
Because like even Ruthan Good was introduced in Bone Hunters, I believe. Maybe even House
Oh,
Chain.
interesting.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll have to
just
watch out
like
for that.
a couple of times is named.
Hmm. Hmm.
Do you think Ruthan Good's Arathon?
I do think that I have a
Okay.
really hard time thinking of anyone else he could be. Really.
I've heard theories that Arathon becomes Tayshrin.
Now that's weird.
I'm not sure buy it,
I
especially knowing Tayshrin's story from the Ice prequels.
Yeah, I don't think even not knowing his story from the Ice prequels, I don't think I buy it because a lot of what Tayshrin learns in Gardens of the Moon and Memories of Ice is like restraint and when not to meddle and like genuine compassion for people and the complexities of when to use your power. Um, and I think
Tayshrin's
that
got an interesting backstory too, because like
Tayshrin, yeah, he's a
we
cool
get
guy.
we get like hints from Tatters or Silver Fox, and she's like, "Oh, Artanthos, he hasn't used that name in a long time."
Oh,
Like, so that
right,
means
yeah.
he's used the name Martanthos before, which I just don't know what that's referring to.
I don't either. But anyways, I don't think Erethan really needs to learn those lessons because he's such a reserved guy at the start anyways. Like I assume he has power, but he's never once used it.
Mm.
He's not like Envy and Spite where they just kind of murder things.
I believe it more if we saw Tayshran biting his nails or something.
Yeah, it was just, yeah. Hmm.
There was this really, really, really cool segment I found. It says Fenrir was as good as dead. A god trapped in the mortal realm was like a babe on an altar. All that was required was a
Mm.
knife and a willful hand.
Or a sword in a willful hand.
Oh, was it a sword?
I
Curse
I,
you.
I think so. He only has a sword, right? I don't know.
Hmm.
He's very much a blunt instrument kind of guy. I think he's the type that
Uh,
uses sword for everything, including like shaving.
I uh,
Chop some wood with it.
how do you think our
Butchers.
first discussion on Karst is gonna go?
Oh. I don't think Yasna or Panda will like him at all in the first book.
Does anybody?
I don't know. I did. I certainly didn't.
I guess if people could just look past the murder and the rape, then he's a pretty cool guy.
Murder and the rape and getting his friends killed, and having a host of what he calls children's souls surrounding him at all times. I think the moment where people's opinions on him start to shift is the end of House of Chains when he like rides up to the Malazan army with the two heads of the Daragoth behind him. And he's just like, I've decided I'm not gonna fight you guys. And then Tavor's like, yeah, I think we dodged a bullet there.
Well, he changes a lot, even in the first book of
Yes.
House of Chains. So I
Yeah,
mean, he goes through a
absolutely.
lot of character growth. It just I don't know how long it'll take people to forgive him if they ever do.
Hmm. Yeah, it's especially hard to forgive a character for rape.
Mm.
People are a lot more understanding of murder, but I think deservedly, it takes quite a bit for someone to overlook sexual assault and stuff like that.
Yeah, understandably. But
Hmm.
like that's another thing. The Templar culture is kind of just based on rape, right?
Yes.
So it's one of those things where like I mean, yeah, it's wrong, and we could obviously say this is wrong, don't do that. But when you're so entrenched in that culture and
Hmm.
just everybody accepts it.
And it becomes a lot more difficult to talk about, given the fact that like as you get later on, Karsa becomes like really morally ambiguous character. It's like really hard to figure out if he's actually right about things or not.
Uh, I as much as I love Garza, I never get onto the destroy civilization train. But
I'm
his
not.
conversation.
Yeah, I'm not on the destroy civilization train either, but he does have really good points sometimes. Like when
I don't
he's
know.
holding, yeah.
He's absolutely right almost all the time. Like,
Hmm.
but it's like people who, when you're talking to somebody who disagrees politically and they're talking about a problem that obviously exists, but you just don't agree with their solution.
Yeah, yeah. Destroying civilization is quite a step. It's going to be
I
very
love.
interesting where he goes with that in the Witness.
Hmm. When is what's her name introduced? His partner.
Oh, is it like Seren Padak or something? Is
No,
that her
Sarah
name?
Patek's Hull's ex-girlfriend becomes Troll's wife.
Oh yes, yes. Oh, I think she's introduced in Bone Hunters.
I have to. I can't believe I forgot her name. I
Because
really like her character.
he spends his time as House of Chains either in Shaik's army or in the book one prologue, and I don't think he meets her there because once they meet, they don't split up.
Samar Dev.
Samardev, that's it. Yes,
And they,
and
they
he
meet the Bone Hunters.
yeah, and he kills a Kachena Rook, and that's the first time we see one.
I love her.
She's so
Okay.
cool.
And they are perfect for each other. I love them as companions, and I can't wait to see them.
They are excellent foils, and also, I think, believable lovers.
I wonder how Panda's gonna respond to Pearl and Lestariu?
It's a good question.
I don't know.
They definitely have a very toxic relationship.
You think so?
I think
I'm
okay.
not sure I agree.
I think Pearl is a toxic guy generally.
I mean,
I
he's an
think
assassin.
yeah, but he's also like Kalam's an assassin, but Pearl is he's just a piece of work generally. Um, but I could see him and Lestariel eventually becoming better people together. But then they both think the other has died for a while, and then they both get super depressed, and then eventually Pearl dies.
Doesn't she kill him?
Does she?
I think she does.
In Bone Hunters?
Yeah, at the end of Bone Hunters, because
With the white
he tried to
Peralt or
kill.
something?
What's that?
With the white Peralt or something?
The
Maybe?
poison?
Yeah. Oh man,
Yeah,
mine's
from
super fuzzy on it.
Lestariel to Pearl, who's dying, and she gets
Oh
him
yes.
to put him out of his
Right.
misery.
Yes.
I don't hate Pearl, but he's annoying.
I don't hate him either. He's definitely a piece of work though.
I really disliked him my first time reading though,
um,
but I didn't really quite understand the Gil and Pearl sections either. I'm just like, okay, these people are hanging out with each other. Great. I didn't even, yeah.
By the time I made it to House of Chains, it had probably been like a year and a half, maybe 2 years since I read Dead House Gates. So I just completely forgot who he was. To me, he was this entirely new character. So was Lestariel. And they just kind of team up at that point. And it was interesting reading it from that perspective, but I'm also looking forward to having the context of an entire book.
So do you think what were the Gumble
Gumball and Ormulligan?
or Mulligan? Do you think Ormulligan was what's that Leosin's name? Lorik. Do you think he's Lorik's familiar?
Oh, Gumball? I don't
I always mix those two up.
I don't know.
Okay,
That's
so-
a good question
so-
actually.
In House of Chains, I believe he says he knows what's going on in Genebakis because he has a spy in the Malazan military.
Uh-huh.
And Lorik has a thing for frogs because he gets Grey Frog, right?
Yeah.
And Grey Frog becomes his familiar.
Hmm.
And then Grey Frog dies, and his dad's just like, get over it.
Oh, Gray Frog.
Ostrik's
He's
such a
dead too
dick.
soon. Yeah.
I like Grey Frog. So I think he's the familiar of Lorik.
Okay, I think he might be a familiar. I think Lork's main familiar was the Leosin's false god, who was kind of taking the place of Oserk, and then gets killed in House of Chains by the Tlanimas. And then this is what triggers the Tais Leosin to have their civil war and then try and kill everybody in the Crippled God.
That's right.
Yeah.
Quickbin adds a pebble to the bridge burners.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, he has a Ticed soul in him, right? So
He's got two.
Two, you say?
There's too many hints. There's no way he's not enticed.
Yeah, well, he definitely has the Mibe. I'm thinking. Yeah. Do you have any idea what is going on with the Warrens of the Tlanimas?
Yeah, so the original war of the Tlanimas was the Beast Hold. And
Okay.
when they, took on the ritual, they basically killed their gods in their eyes. The beasts became lost, and Talon became their warren. But because it was originally the Beast Hold, it's still connected,
Okay. I don't think Talon was completely new when they did the ritual, though. Because, as we see in Forge of Darkness, they're already worshipping Olar Ethel, who is essentially the Azathanai of fire, right? So there's got to be... I would think that there's some kind of Talon connection there at the start.
No, this even makes more sense. So they reject the beast the Beast hold, and they take on Olar Ethel's aspect, which is death
And fire.
and fire.
Olar Ethel is the worst. It's interesting how she doesn't seem to be the worst in Memories of Ice. She like has 2 lines and they seem pretty reasonable.
Yeah, and she helps them, helps our boys in Deadhouse Gates.
But does she ever turn into a dragon again after this?
Probably.
But yeah, she just kind of shows up.
She's got to. I think when she shows up again in
Dust of Dreams,
Triple
right?
God or Dust of Dreams, probably.
It's Dust of Dreams because she at the very least resurrects Tool in Dust of Dreams, right?
Yeah.
And then she says she's Burn, which will confuse Yasmin and Panda to no end, I'm sure.
That'll be fun. She says she's Burn.
She says she's Burn. Yeah. As with so many other Malazan characters, she's just lying. Or wrong. Maybe she believes it.
Well, so Burn was a dog hunter, dog runner, right?
Yes.
According to the Karkanis books. And Olar Ethel considers herself the Azathanai of the dog runners, right?
Yeah.
So I guess through that connection, she considers herself Burn.
Although she doesn't only consider herself the Azathanai of the dog runners. She does interfere with everyone else's stuff all the time. And
she's the worst.
She's one of the reasons Hunral is, well, yeah. Man, screw Hunral.
I can't wait to get his comeuppance.
He is such a he's not only bad, but like everyone's always thinking, oh, he's just a drunk. He must be really easy to outwit or something. And they just never do that.
Do you think he's actually a drunk, or do you think it's just he's playing?
I think he's actually a drunk, but he's also like a savvy drunk, obviously, or else he wouldn't be able to do what he does.
High functioning alcoholic.
Yeah, exactly.
I think so too.
Let's see. This is the last we'll see of the Kachin Shamal until Dust of Dreams as well, when we see a living brood.
Is that right? We see their sky keeps and bone hunters, I believe.
Yeah, we see Kachin Naruk's sky keeps in Bone Hunters, because those are the ones that are sitting in the Imperial Warren, and then everyone's like, "Oh, what are they waiting for?" And it turns out they were waiting for the crippled god, the Unsel of the crippled god, and to mess up the Bone Hunters.
I'm on the wiki right now.
Oh, the Kachin Shamals show up in a small way in Reaper's Gale with Red Mask.
Right. Yeah, that's actually not in a small way, a pretty big way.
Yeah, they do end up killing him.
Oh well, they're definitely present in the prologue of Midnight Tides.
Oh yes, that's true. We don't get much of them, but I am curious to see how Panda and Yasna compare Animander to Andarist and also Silchus Ruin, because they're all very different.
Very, very different.
And I like Silchus Ruin. I think he's really cool. But
they're all really great
Yeah.
characters. Yeah, Animander. I don't know. I really like them all, but I think Andorus is my favorite.
do you think Animander had his plan for Toll the Hounds in place by Memories of Ice, or do you think he just like kind of comes up with it maybe during or after the events of this?
I have no idea.
Right, because he was going to kill those Mothers of the Dead Seed, so he was going to add some more people to Dragonapur.
Yeah, but that was really just to save Whiskey Jack, right? Also, I don't know how much they can drag a wagon. That might not be helping.
Depends on how many of them there are, I guess.
Okay, I got a question. Did Animander ever actually plan on entering Dragonapur himself?
Oh yeah, totally.
But that would mean that he had to have planned his own suicide, right?
Yes.
By his own sword. But that happened because you rolled a 1.
But this is the event that gets Mother Dark to come back to the Teist Andy, and I don't think she would have done that if Anamander hadn't sacrificed himself.
I agree, but like,
I don't know. It's
yeah.
right? Like maybe it was he rolled a 1 and then Erickson was like, okay, now I gotta work this into the story. This was planned all along. Well, okay, obviously the Seer Doman that we see being nice to talk is Seer Doman from
Seer
Toll
Doman.
Hands. Yeah.
I
That
love
guy's
him.
really cool. Yeah. He's a very, very interesting character.
I love his conversations with the Kovian.
Mm-hmm.
Or what was that god's name that Kovian became?
The Redeemer or something?
The Redeemer, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and the Kovian's going to become a god. I wonder... Like, obviously makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Silver Fox's souls. So it's claimed that Belladin is one of them. But he's also the dying god at this point. Or becoming the dying god.
And Dasamulter is both Dasamulter and Decembre, so
I guess. But like
mean,
no one was worshipping Belladin at all. Like the
yeah.
reason Dassam split is because he couldn't reconcile the fact that, people wanted him to be a god, right?
Mm.
Oh man, it really should have been Hairlock that was the dying god.
That would have been cool. I think I would have liked it more.
Yeah, I think like everyone would have liked it more, right? This, we're gonna see the Hounds of Darkness soon.
Mm.
Hounds of Darkness are cool. Hounds of Light are decidedly underwhelming.
Those are the Daragoth, right?
The Hounds of Darkness are the Daragoth, yeah.
Okay.
And then the Hounds of Light kind of just like hang around with the Hounds of Shadow for a couple books, and then Shadow Throne's like, I don't know why they're here, but for now they're following my instructions. And then in the Crippled God, the Watch kills them all.
I believe the Hounds of Light also try to take Dragdipper after Rake dies too, right?
Yes. Oh, right. There was one thing I was gonna talk about. So Krupp's mule. So obviously, I think Yasna was guessing that it was also Pust's mule, but no, there's just two. There's two weird mules in this universe, and there will be a fight.
You have to put them together.
Yeah.
That's the best fight of Toll the Hounds. I don't care what anyone says.
Oh man. Yeah.
I mean,
I have no idea
move
why.
over and be in spite. Move over Rake and December.
Dassam.
Dassam, yes. Rake and Dassam.
Or
And
Traveler, as he's called. Hood and Rake. Hood and Rake isn't a fight. He just chops his head off.
Speaking of Traveler, does he show up in House of Chains?
Yes.
I wonder if...
He's the one that takes the sword from Andrist.
Do you think... I'm pretty sure Yasna will know that it's Dassam.
Yeah.
I wonder if Panda will. So Yasna's read Knight of Knives, so he knows Dassam's not really dead, and obviously there are lots of hints in Memories Device that Dassam's not dead. But I
don't think either of them think that Dassam is dead.
Yeah.
So I would think that they'll guess pretty soon.
Mm.
Oh yeah, who was the one that killed that Teist Eater? It was male, right?
Yeah, it was definitely male.
Yeah, okay.
Because he came upon a bunch of Teist trying to kill
killing
Teho, and he gets pissed.
Oh yeah.
I love reading that section. It's oh god, it's so good. And
the realization that he's male is it's so good.
I can't wait to get that part, and I don't know if Yasna and Panda will catch it, but I'm looking forward to the part of the podcast where I'm like, hey guys, you remember in book 3 when we saw that eater that was more stuff on the shore? Yeah, that's this guy.
Oh man, do you think they're gonna guess that Bug is a god at any point before it's revealed?
Absolutely no way. No way.
Because he does act a bit shifty sometimes.
He does. And there are little clues like his snoring. Yeah, and I think at one part Withel at the end of a chapter is praying to Mael, and at the end of the next chapter, Mael says, "Oh, I thought I heard somebody's voice or something."
Yeah, he also meets with those tribes people at one point, and he seems important to them, and we have no idea why. And it's
I
like,
don't
oh,
remember
because
that scene.
he's a god. Yeah. Um. Oh yeah, Marilia sits on Hood's altar. We all know what that means.
It means he's going to become the next god of death.
Woo. He wouldn't want it.
He wouldn't want it. Actually,
But
that
yeah.
would have been pretty cool, though. Actually,
Also, Hood played a part in Whiskey Jack's death, um, which I it's hard to nail down what exactly that was, but
what do you mean?
well, at some point in the series, Hood says that he regrets the part he played in Whiskey Jack's death.
Ooh, yeah.
So he might have been the one to cause the bone to break at the time that it did, or maybe he was just influencing Whiskey Jack to not get it healed at all.
Well, he needed somebody to take over when he was done, right?
Hmm.
And he had that old vendetta with Whiskey Jack because Whiskey Jack took his little sister from the Hood acolytes, right?
Hmm.
So maybe just that.
Maybe. Oh yeah, and also we get little hints of this, and well, we get a couple of examples of this. But Hood, actually, a really nice guy.
Nah, I think this is the book where it kind of shows that he's not as bad as
Yeah,
we were led to believe until now.
like he's forced to be the way he is a lot of the time, and but he does take some exceptions, and he does meet people who are worthy. He saves the Maib for apparently no benefit to him at all. And then yeah, and then there's that scene in Told the Hounds, which is so good.
One of my favorites in the series.
Just like just this once, I'm gonna go
But
against it.
but at the same time, to be able to manifest like that, it took like what's that guy's name with no fingers?
Oh yeah, he's just punching people to death. Yeah.
Yeah, that took him murdering tons of people.
Hmm. I'm so excited to have more of Hood. Hood is so awesome.
I can't wait for Tola Hands.
Oh, I'm also really interested to see what they think of the Forkrula sale at first, because we do see one in House of Chains,
Oh yeah,
and we do get like hints of them, um, in the books leading up. Just like sometimes they were chosen to be the arbitrators, and they killed everyone in the conflict.
yeah. 'Cause we meet Calm in is it book one?
Yeah, Karsa Freezer. That was a bad idea.
Yeah, it was really bad.
It's like, oh, there's someone stuck under this rock, and there are a ton of Tlanimas bones around.
I mean, that's what I would do if I saw somebody who's stuck under a rock. Yeah, I'll help you out.
Uh, yeah, I probably would too, but oh boy, that wasn't a good idea this time. Yeah, like if there's like one set of villains in this series, it's totally them, right?
Yeah. I
Hmm.
mean, the Leosin are dicks, but
Yeah,
the Folk Girl Soul definitely the worst.
because yeah, they're the ones that are most unbending, and they have no idea of compassion at all. And yeah,
Who was their Azathanai progenitor?
um,
Knuckles?
maybe
I think it was Knuckles.
it was Knuckles, and then I think they might. There's a theory that they sort of adopted what's his face, the Protector guy.
Grizzin
Yes, they. Yeah, I think they adopted him and then killed him
Okay.
because they did. We do know that they killed their god.
Yeah, they did kill
Yeah,
the god.
Knuckles is still alive. Grizzin doesn't look
Yeah,
like
he
he's
is.
alive.
Mhm.
Yeah, and there is one scene in Carquinus which um, suggests it, but I can't remember what it is right now. Uh, how long do you think it'll take Panda to guess that the crippled god isn't the big bad? Yasna unfortunately already knows, which
Yeah.
sucks. So
Yeah, I
stupid.
know. Uh,
Ugh.
uh, Midnight Tides? Maybe later.
Midnight Tides is when it starts to really itch at you. It's like, wait, there's this isn't quite right because at the end of the book, Mail just goes in and beats him up. Um,
But at the same time, like Midnight Tides, uh, Rulad is awful, right?
oh, he's so sad.
Uh, but like he himself is just an annoying, terrible person.
Yes.
But you feel so bad for him,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's where I started to realize like maybe this crippled god guy isn't all that bad.
Okay. Oh, he is that bad, but he's also like
Tragic.
Yeah, he can be redeemed. Um,
That was so sad when Itkobian found the crippled god's, I don't know, spirit inside of
oh yeah,
Rash
Fenner.
Rathfenner,
Yeah,
and like he tried to embrace the crippled god, but it
pulled back. Yeah.
pulled back.
Um, House of Chains. We are going to get introduced to Sin.
And Grub.
Yeah, Sin especially is the character she's one of the ones that I feel most sad about and the most conflicted about her ending in the series. So I'm going to be reading her very closely this time. And maybe
I
if we get
assume you wish
Erickson,
that she had a happy ending.
yeah, because like she obviously she sort of turns bad at the end of Crippled God, but you know, at the end of Crippled God, like basically like there's a lot of people who get redeemed, right? Why not? Why doesn't she? Come on, Erickson. It would be so in keeping with the themes of the book to like have Stormy and Gessler just kind of talk her down or something like that.
If
maybe not talk her
anyone
down,
it
but
was
like
Grub, because he was trying the whole time and he was not
Yeah.
able to do it.
Yeah, if we get Erickson after Crippled God, I'm definitely going to be
Yeah.
asking him about.
I would as well.
that storyline.
I'm fine with it. So I think it it makes sense, right? So we're following the crippled god, and we come to learn that he's just a victim of everything. He's a victim who's lashing out and hurting others from envy, spite, malice, all that. And so Sin obviously resembles the crippled god in that way, except she just doesn't.
She
doesn't.
She's in a very similar situation.
Because just wrong time, wrong place. There was no other solution at the time, right? I agree. It's sad,
man. And we're also gonna get some Fellison Younger, and that's gonna be tricky to talk about.
That actually.
And she is another character who I have very conflicted feelings on how her storyline ends, because she just kind of gets kidnapped,
Becomes a goddess of a cult.
Yeah, and becomes like super debauched.
Yeah, it's a sad story. Like a really sad story.
Oh, do you think that they're gonna call Fellison getting killed by Tavor?
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that conversation.
It's gonna be a really good conversation, I think, because that's one of the moments in the series that's
It's going back
impacts.
to the genital mutilation. I don't think it'd actually be that controversial.
I don't think it's gonna be controversial. It's just like really hard to talk about things like genital mutilation, I think. Although happily she does get healed of that.
So does my God, so early. All these names are leaving me.
It starts with an S, right?
Solara.
Ah, yes, Solara.
I like her a lot.
She's a very interesting character. She's a very, very interesting modern character.
I really, really like her in Dull Hounds. She's an Orb Citrathone. She's not a very good mother.
Yeah, you don't say.
Well, I mean, like
in
what is it, Bone Hunters? I think it's Bone Hunters when she gets pregnant with Corporal Dom's kid, and then she gives away, and like Lorik's giving her crap for it because F him. I actually like that about Lorik. I mean, I don't like that about Lorik, but I like that it gives him a little bit more character. And he's still a bit Leosin, and even though he's willing to help people.
Yeah, he's weird.
It's hard to grasp, right? But then you can't blame her for giving away her kid, right?
No, I can't. I can't blame her. And I especially can't blame her for being a bad mother because her life experiences consist of being kidnapped when she was probably a little girl. She was, she had her genitals mutilated. She was forced to become a prostitute and was kept on drugs for that entire time. And that's basically where she is at the start of House of Chains. That was her life. And yeah, none of those experiences really are conducive to good mothering.
She never loses her kindness though.
It's true. She does do the best she can.
Crocus, he's just so annoying. until Cold the Hounds, but I really really liked his arc.
Well, yeah, next book we get edgy Crocus, Cutter, yeah.
Better.
He's such an this is and I don't mean this derogatorily. He's very emo.
Very, very.
That's for one last thing. Fiddler's New Squad. I love Fiddler's New Squad. That's it. That's all I have to say. That's me for this episode.
I guess that's it for the spoiler episode. Sorry if it was disappointing. We didn't really have a lot to talk about.
Thank you for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
Please leave us any feedback you have in the Discord or maybe on Reddit. I occasionally search up Green Team on the Malazan subreddit, hopefully.
We really should.
We should be cross-roading there a lot more, yeah.
No, I'm in our Discord. We should probably be like, hey, you guys have anything you want us to talk about in the spoilers episode?
Oh, yeah. That's now that we know that we have listeners. Yeah, probably.
I'll put that in the Erickson Discord channel. So please come and tell us if you want us to talk about anything, because better than us just being like, oh yeah, I remember that one thing.
Yeah, and if you want to argue with us about anything we say, I'm at least very happy to do so.
I'm happy for arguments too. Yeah, we should bring on guests.
That could be fun.
Yeah, if anyone's interested, just message us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we'll be vetting.
Yes, we're very selective. Please submit at least a 10-page essay on House of Chains to be admitted.
All right, well, that's it. This is Hurinfan signing off.
Later, everybody.